Let's begin. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My phone screen glowed in the dim light of my car. The words burning themselves into my mind like a branding iron. Your wife is screwing her boss. 6 words. That was all it took to turn my entire world upside down. For a moment, I sat frozen, staring at the screen, my heart pounding so hard I thought my ribs would crack. Maybe it was a joke, a cruel prank. But deep down, I knew better. The late nights, the sudden obsession with her appearance, the expensive perfume she never wore for me. It all made sense now. Emily, my wife, had been slipping away for months. I told myself I was imagining things, that she was just busy. That work was stressful, but my gut had whispered the truth all along. And now I had the confirmation I've been dreading. My chest tightened with something between fury and devastation. I could have gone home, sat there like a fool, and waited for her to come back with another one of her half-assed excuses. But tonight, I wasn't going to be that man. Tonight, I needed to see it with my own eyes. I shoved my phone into my pocket and stepped out of the car, my pulse roaring in my ears. The office building loomed in front of me, glass windows reflecting the city lights. My feet felt like lead as I walked toward the entrance, but I didn't stop. There was no going back now. The building was quiet, nearly empty, except for a receptionist who barely glanced at me as I stepped inside. My eyes flickered to the directory on the wall, and I found the name I was looking for, Daniel Carter, senior partner, her boss. A fresh wave of rage surged through me as I pressed the button for the elevator. The door slid open and I stepped inside, clenching my fist at my sides. When the elevator dinged open, the hallway was dimly lit. Most of the offices dark, but at the end of the hall, a door was slightly ajar. Light spilled from inside, and then I heard it. Laughter. Her laughter. The sound sent a knife straight through my chest. It was soft, playful, intimate. The kind of laugh she hadn't given me in months. The kind of laugh she used to save for me. I moved closer, my heart hammering like a war drum. Through the gap in the door, I saw her. Emily sat perched on his desk, legs crossed, her blouse slightly unbuttoned. And Daniel, he stood close, way too close, his hand resting on her thigh like it belonged there. She smiled up at him, twirling a strand of her hair around her finger, looking happy, relaxed, like she didn't have a husband waiting at home. Wondering why she barely touched him anymore. Something inside me snapped. I pushed the door open hard. The laughter died instantly. Emily's face drained of color as she scrambled off the desk. Daniel straightened, his face pale, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. "Jake," she started, but I cut her off. "Hope I'm not interrupting," I said, my voice eerily calmed despite the rage burning inside me. She grabbed her purse like she was about to make a run for it. "Not this time. You want to explain what the hell I just walked in on?" Emily had the audacity to roll her eyes. "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Jake. It's not what it looks like." I let out a bitter laugh. "Not what it looks like, really." I gesture between them. "You're sitting on your boss's desk, giggling like a damn schoolgirl. And you expect me to believe that, Daniel?" Ever the spineless coward cleared his throat. "Jake, maybe we should all just calm down and talk." I turned on him so fast he took a step back. "Talk? You mean like how you and my wife have been sneaking around behind my back?" Emily sighed, rubbing her temples like she was the one dealing with a headache. "Oh, for God's sake, Jake. You're acting like I murdered someone." I felt my grip on my sanity slipping. "Yeah, well, from where I'm standing, it feels a lot like that." She groaned. Then, just like that, she flipped the switch. Her face softened, her voice turning sweet, manipulative. "Baby, please," she purred. "You're making a scene over nothing." "Nothing." I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. "Is that so?" I said, my voice deadly calm. And then I hit play. Emily's voice filled the room. Clear as day. "God, Daniel, if I have to spend another night pretending to love that man, I swear I'll lose my mind. The silence that followed was deafening. Emily went ghost white. Daniel's face tightened with panic. Jake, Emily gasped. Save it, I snapped. I just wanted to see your face when you heard yourself say it. Daniel took a step forward. Look, man, I turned him. Shut up. And he did. I exhaled, shoving my phone back into my pocket. Here's what's going to happen. Emily, you're going to pack your __ and get out of my house. I turned to Daniel. And you? I let a cold smirk. You'd better pray your wife picks up the phone when I call her. His entire body went stiff. You wouldn't? I grinned. Oh, I absolutely would. Emily's face twisted in panic. Jake, wait. But I was already walking out. This wasn't over. Not even close. I drove straight to Daniel Carter's house. A massive white brick estate that screamed old money. The kind of place where people pretended their lives were perfect, no matter how rotten they were inside. I stepped out of my car and rang the doorbell. A few seconds later, the door opened and there she was. Olivia Carter, blonde, graceful, dressed in one of those expensive silk robes that rich women wore like they had just stepped out of spa. She looked me over slightly surprised, not alarmed. Not yet. Yes, she said, tilting her head. I gave her a polite smile. Hi, Olivia, I don't think we've officially met. I'm Jake Reynolds, Emily's husband. That got her attention. Her eyes narrowed, her posture stiffened. Is everything all right? I smiled wider. Not really, I said. Can I come in? She hesitated, but only for a second. People like Olivia Carter never expected confrontation. That was about to change. Olivia Carter led me inside her house. A grand estate that looked like it belonged on the cover of an upscale magazine. The chandelier above cast a golden glow over the pristine marble floors. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. This was a kind of house built on secrets. The kind where a cheating husband could smile at his wife over breakfast while texting his mistress under the table. She led me into a sunlit sitting room, gesturing to an expensive-looking couch. Would you like some coffee? I shook my head. No thanks. I won't take up too much of your time. She gave me a polite smile, though I could see the tension creeping into her eyes. Then what brings you here? I leaned forward slightly, resting my elbows on my knees. I thought you should know something. Something about your husband. Her smile faltered just a little. What about Daniel? I exhaled. He's been sleeping with my wife. Silence. She didn't gasp. She didn't scream. She didn't even blink. Instead, she let out a slow breath and reached for a cigarette case on the coffee table. She pulled one out, rolling it between her fingers without lighting it. How long? She asked, her voice calm. Too calm? I shrugged. Long enough for them to get comfortable lying to us. She nodded slowly as if she had been expecting this. Do you have proof? She asked. I pulled out my phone, hit play, and let Emily's voice fill the air. God, Daniel, if I have to spend another night pretending to love that man, I swear I'll lose my mind. The moment the words left my speaker, Olivia smirked. Not gasped, not cried, smirked. She let out a quiet, almost amused laugh. Well, she murmured, tapping the cigarette against the table. She's got quite the mouth on her, doesn't she? That threw me off. I expected tears, rage, maybe even denial. But this? You don't seem surprised, I said. She chuckled, shaking her head. Because I'm not. She exhaled, finally lighting her cigarette. Daniel's not as charming as he thinks he is. He's a control freak, manipulative, and quite frankly, I was getting tired of playing the perfect wife for a man who saw me as another trophy on his shelf. That caught my attention. You want it out? She smirked again. I was wondering how I was going to leave him without looking like the bad guy. I raised an eyebrow. And now, she took a drag from her cigarette, her blue eyes flashing with something dark. Now, I think I'll make him suffer. I believed her. I stood up, slipping my phone back into my pocket. I should go. Just thought you should know. She walked me to the door, pausing with one hand on the frame. Jake. I turned back. If you ever want to see the look on Daniel's face when he realizes how badly he screwed himself. Her lips curled into a wicked smile. Give me a call. I smirked. I just might take you up on that. Then I walked out, leaving Olivia Carter to plot her revenge. And I had a feeling it was going to be glorious. The moment I stepped out of Olivia Carter's mansion, my phone buzzed. Emily. I stared at the screen, debating whether to answer. The fact that she had the nerve to call me after what just happened only fueled my rage. I let it ring until it stopped. A notification popped up. Voicemail. I wasn't ready to hear whatever pathetic excuse she had lined up, but my curiosity got the better of me. I tapped the message and put the phone in my ear. Jake, please. I don't know what you think you saw, but it's not what you think. I hung up before she could finish. Not what I think. I just caught her sitting on her boss's desk, giggling like a lovesick teenager, and she had the audacity to gaslight me. I got in my car and drove, not home. I had a better idea. Emily had spent years crafting the image of the perfect wife. The devoted partner, the hardworking professional, the innocent victim of unfortunate circumstances. And I was about to tear it all down. I pulled in the driveway of her parents' house and rang the doorbell. A moment later, her mother, Linda, opened the door. Her face lit up. Jake, what a surprise. Come in. Come in. I stepped inside, inhaling the familiar scent of cinnamon and fresh coffee. This house had always felt like home. And now I was about to shatter that illusion. Linda led me to the den where her husband Richard sat in his usual recliner. The second he saw me, he smiled. Jake, didn't expect to see you tonight. Everything all right? I exhaled slowly. Not really. I need to talk to you both. Linda sat down next to Richard, her expression turning concerned. Of course, dear. What's wrong? I pulled out my phone. I need you to listen to something. I hit play. Emily's voice filled the room. God, Daniel, if I have to spend another night pretending to love that man, I swear I'll lose my mind. Silence. The warmth drained from Linda's face. Richard sat up straighter, his jaw tightening. I looked up from my phone. That's your daughter talking about me talking to her boss. The man she's been sleeping with behind my back. Linda covered her mouth, her eyes glistening. No, that can't be. Richard, however, didn't look surprised. His fist clenched against his knees. I knew something was off with her, he muttered, shaking his head. Damn it, I knew it. Linda turned to me, her voice shaking. Are you sure? Maybe there's an explanation. I caught the Linda. My voice was ice cold. I walked in on them in his office alone. She was sitting on his desk, looking at him the way she used to look at me. Linda's shoulders sagged, the denial cracked, and the reality set in. That stupid girl, Richard muttered under his breath. I continued. She called me, left a voicemail saying, it's not what I think. I let out a cold laugh. Even when she's caught, she still lies. Linda looked devastated. Jake, I don't even know what to say. This isn't how we raised her. Richard let out a harsh breath. What are you going to do? I met his eyes. I'm done with her. She's moving out. The marriage is over. Linda let out a small pain sound, but she didn't argue. She knew there was no coming back from this. Then Richard did something I didn't expect. He stood up, walked over, and placed a firm hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, son, he said, his voice filled with something close to shame. You deserve better. And for the first time in months, I felt like someone finally understood. But this wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. I left Emily's parents' house with a strange feeling simmering in my chest. Not relief, not closure, but something darker. Finality. Emily was about to find out just how many people she had lost in one night. As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed again. Another voicemail from Emily. I ignored it. Whatever she had to say, I already knew it was a lie. I started the engine, gripping the wheel tightly. This wasn't enough. I had one last call to make. The moment Olivia picked up, I heard the amusement in her voice. Jake, she purred. That was fast. I chuckled darkly. Emily's parents know now. They're not taking it well. There was a brief pause. Ah, Olivia murmured. That explains why Daniel came home looking like a ghost. That got my attention. He's home? I asked, eyebrows raising. Oh, yes, she said almost lazily. He strolled and like nothing was wrong. Gave me some lame excuse about staying late at the office. A soft chuckle. So, I just showed him your little recording. I smirked. How'd that go? She sighed dramatically. Poor thing nearly choked on his own words. First, he tried to deny it. Then, when he realized I wasn't buying his __, he switched tactics. I knew what was coming next. Let me guess, he tried to blame you. Ding, ding, ding. Olivia cutted. He actually had the audacity to say I'd been distant lately, that he needed affection. I scoffed. Wow, the man has no shame. None. She agreed. And when that didn't work, he begged. That made me pause. Begged. Oh, yes. Full-on desperation. Told me he'd ended with Emily, that he'd fix things between us, that we could work through this. I laughed. And what did you say? A delicious pause. I told him. Olivia said, her voice turning to ice, that I'd be speaking to my lawyers today. I let out a slow whistle. Damn. Guess he finally knows what losing feels like. Oh, he's about to find out, she murmured. And your wife? I exhaled, shaking my head. Not my problem anymore. She's about to realize Daniel isn't the knight in shining armor she thought he was. Olivia laughed low and knowing. You think Daniel actually wanted her? That made me frown. What do you mean? You think he's going to stick around for Emily now that he's losing his wife, his money, and his reputation? She let out a soft, almost pitying laugh. She was just a toy to him, Jake. A distraction. The realization hit me like a truck. Emily threw everything away for a man who never intended to keep her. I didn't respond right away. Olivia waited, then added, do me a favor, Jake. I leaned back in my seat. Yeah, when she realizes what she's done. Olivia's voice dipped into something dangerous. Make her suffer, I smirked, staring at the dark street ahead of me. Oh, don't worry, I murmured. I will. 2 days after Emily walked out, she called me again. I ignored it. Then she texted, Emily, Jake, can we please talk? I left it on read. A few hours later, another message. Emily, Jake, seriously, I just need a minute. I turned off my phone and went about my day. Then that evening, just as I was getting ready to head out for a drink, a knock at the door. I didn't even have to check. I already knew it was her. For a moment, I considered not answering, letting her stand out there, letting her wonder, but then I thought, no, let's get this over with. Let's see just how desperate she's gotten. I opened the door, and there she was. Emily looked terrible. Her once perfect hair was a mess. Her eyes were red-rimmed. Her face pale, her makeup smudged like she had been crying for hours. But the most noticeable change, the confidence was gone. No smug smirk, no manipulative charm. This wasn't the Emily who strutted out of our house 2 nights ago, convinced she was trading up. This was a broken woman. Jake, she whispered, her voice small. Can I come in? I leaned against the door frame, crossing my arms. Why? She swallowed hard, shifting on her feet. I need to talk to you, please. For a split second, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered her sitting on Daniel's desk, giggling like a damn teenager, and every ounce of sympathy vanished. I stepped aside without a word. She walked in, looking around like she barely recognized the place, like she hadn't spent years living here with me. I shut the door behind her. Say what you need to say. She turned to face me, wringing her hands together. I made a mistake, Jake. I raised an eyebrow. Which one? You'll have to be more specific. She flinched. I should have never left, she whispered. I got caught up in something stupid. I didn't think it through. Her lips trembled. But I do love you, Jake. I always have. I stared at her for a long moment. Then I shook my head. Let me guess, I said, my voice dripping with disgust. Daniel didn't pick you. Her silence told me everything. I let out a cold laugh. Wow, you really thought he was going to leave his perfect little life for you? Her lip quivered. He said, I don't care what he said. I cut her off because whatever he promised you, you were stupid enough to believe it. Tears welled in her eyes. It's not like that, Jake. It's exactly like that. She took a shaky breath. Please, Jake, I know I don't deserve it, but can we just talk? Maybe we can fix this. I shook my head. No, Emily, we can't. A choked sob slipped from her lips. She covered her mouth, her shoulders shaking. I don't have anywhere else to go, she whispered. I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, nothing. Not my problem, I said flatly. She stared at me, eyes wide. Jake, please. Just for a few days. I need time to figure things out. I smirked like how you figure things out with Daniel. Her face crumpled. I was wrong. She whimpered. I was so wrong. Yeah, I said, nodding. You were. She stood there, maybe waiting for me to break, to soften. But I didn't. Finally, when she realized there was nothing left to say, she walked out. I shut the door behind her. And this time, she didn't look back. The moment I shut the door behind Emily, a strange sense of peace settled over me. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt free. No more late-night doubts. No more gaslighting. No more pretending. I didn't see the way she had checked out of our marriage long before she ever climbed on a Daniel Carter's desk. I stood there for a moment, listening to the silence. Then my phone buzz. Not Emily this time. Olivia. I smirked as I answered. What's up? She chuckled. Just thought you'd like to know. Daniel's life is officially in flames. I leaned against the counter. Interest peaked. Go on. Well, she purred. Let's just say he didn't take the divorce news very well. Screamed, begged, threatened. She sighed dramatically. Honestly, it was pathetic. I chuckled. But he didn't expect you to actually leave. Oh, of course not. He thought I'd fold. Thought I'd cry and plead with him to stay. She laughed dark and amused. He really doesn't know me at all, does he? No, I agreed. He doesn't, by the way, she continued. Guess who showed up at his house tonight? I already knew before she said it. Emily. Bingo. Olivia said, sounding delighted. She turned up looking like hell, begging him to take her back. You should have seen his face, Jake. He looked like someone just handed him a pile of garbage. I grinned. Did he throw her out? Not right away. Olivia admitted. Oh, no. First, he let her think she still had a chance. He let her plead, let her cry. Then after a few hours, he told her he couldn't afford to deal with her right now and sent her packing. I laughed. Wow, so she really lost everything. Olivia's voice was silk and venom. She threw everything away, Jake. And for what? For a man who never wanted her in the first place. I finished. Exactly. Olivia purred. And now she's got nowhere to go. The satisfaction in her voice was palpable. And honestly, I couldn't blame her. Emily wasn't just cheating. She was arrogant, cruel. She had looked me in the eye, mocked me, and walked away like I was some backup option she could return to when things didn't work out. Now she had nothing. And I wasn't done yet. Emily was desperate now. I knew at the moment my phone lit up with another text from one of her old friends. Claire, Jake, I just got off the phone with Emily. Are you really kicking her out with nowhere to go? Then another Mark. Dude, Emily told me what happened. I get that you're mad, but do you really think leaving her homeless is the right move? And another Tina. I don't want to pick sides, but she's saying you won't even give her a chance to explain. That doesn't seem fair. That word fair. I nearly laughed out loud. Emily had been working overtime to spin the narrative to paint herself as the helpless victim. And I wasn't about to let her get away with it. I picked up my phone and dialed the one person who would know exactly how to handle this. Olivia picked up on the second ring. Jake, she sighed. Let me guess. Emily's little PR campaign has begun. You got it, I said. She's been working my old friends, making it sound like I just threw her out for no reason. Olivia made a thoughtful noise. Classic move. She couldn't manipulate you, so now she's trying to manipulate the people around you. I exhaled sharply. How do I shut this down? She chuckled. Oh, Jake, she murmured. It's easy. Make sure the truth is louder than the lies. I frowned. What do you mean? She sighed like she was talking to a slow student. She's banking on the fact that people don't know the whole story. She's twisting it just enough to make herself look like a victim. You need to do the same except with the truth. I let that sink in. Emily had spent years crafting an image. The perfect wife, the loving partner, the woman who was always so unlucky in life. Now I was going to burn that image to the ground. Thanks, Olivia, I said, a slow grin spreading across my face. I know exactly what to do. I opened the group chat with my closest friends, the ones who actually mattered. And I started typing. Me. All right, since Emily is going around rewriting history, let's clear some things up. And I laid it all out. The texts, the voicemails, the recording. I told them everything word for word. No sugar coating. Then I send the final message. Me. So yeah, if you still think I'm a bad guy, go ahead and believe whatever version of her story makes you feel better. But don't come to me later when you realize she's full of __. One by one, the messages started rolling in. Mark. Holy SHD*. Claire. Jesus Christ, I had no idea. Tina. I am so sorry. She made it sound like something completely different. And one by one, the people she had tried to manipulate turned against her. By the end of the day, she had nowhere left to hide. The next morning, Emily had gone completely silent. No texts, no calls, nothing. She had spent the last 2 days trying to twist the story, painting herself as the abandoned wife, conveniently leaving out the part where she had been screwing her boss in his office. And now everyone knew the truth. I should have felt relieved, like the weight of this whole mess was finally off my shoulders. But there was still one last piece of unfinished business. Daniel Carter. While Emily had been running around trying to save face, Daniel had been dealing with his own disaster. Olivia wasn't just leaving him. She was burying him. The divorce was already in motion. And thanks to the ironclad prenup Olivia had made him sign, he was about to lose a hell of a lot more than half of his money. So when I got a call from an unknown number that afternoon, I had a feeling I knew exactly who it was. I answered and sure enough, Daniel Carter's voice came through the line. Jake, he sighed heavily. I smirked. Daniel, to what do I owe the pleasure? There was a long pause. Then we need to talk. Daniel's voice came through the phone, strained and exhausted. Look, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but we need to talk. I smirked. Do we? Because last time I checked, the only thing we had in common was my wife sitting on your desk. A long pause, then a heavy sigh. I deserve that. I laughed coldly. Oh, Daniel, you deserve a hell of a lot more than that. There was hesitation on the other end. Then he said, I wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. For Emily, for all of it. I raised an eyebrow. You think an apology changes anything? No, he admitted. I don't, but I also know Olivia is coming after me with everything she's got. And he let out a bitter chuckle. I guess I wanted to know if you were planning to do the same. There it was. Daniel wasn't calling to apologize. He was calling to check the damage to see if I was planning to bury him even deeper. I let the silence drag out, making him squirm. Then I said, Nah, I don't need to do anything. Olivia is already handling it. He exhaled in what sounded like relief. But I wasn't done, I added, my voice turning sharp. But if I ever hear your name again, Daniel, if you so much as breathe in my direction, You won't just be dealing with Olivia. A long pause, then quietly understood. I hung up without another word. And just like that, Daniel Carter was out of my life for good. I thought that was the end of it. Daniel was finished. Olivia was tearing him apart piece by piece. And most of my so-called friends had either taken my side or backed off completely. For the first time in days, I felt like I could finally breathe. Then late that night, a knock on my door. At first, I considered ignoring it. But something told me I needed to see who it was. I opened the door and there she was, Emily. She looked even worse than before. Her eyes were hollow, her face pale, her lips chapped, like she hadn't eaten or slept in days. But the biggest difference, the arrogance was gone. This wasn't the Emily who sneered at me in Daniel's office. This was a woman at rock bottom. "Jake," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Please." I leaned against the doorframe, unimpressed. "What do you want, Emily?" She swallowed hard, gripping the straps of her purse so tightly, her knuckles turned white. "I don't have anywhere to go." I stared at her for a long moment, then I smirked. "Not my problem." Emily's breath hitched. "Jake, please." I tried to stay with Daniel, but she let out a weak, broken laugh. It lasted 5 hours. The second he realized Olivia was taking everything, he threw me out like trash. I tilted my head, feigning mock surprise. Wow, who could have seen that coming? Her eyes flashed with something. Anger, shame, maybe both. But she didn't fight it. She took a shaky step closer. "Jake, I messed up," she whispered. "I messed up so bad and I don't know what to do. I don't have a place to stay. I don't have any money. Please." I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just nothing. "That sounds like a you problem," I said coldly. Tears welled in her eyes. "I don't deserve this." I raised an eyebrow. "No, because I think you do. In fact, I think this is the exact ending you earned." Her lip quivered. "Jake, please. I don't want to be alone." I reached for the door handle. "Yeah," I murmured. "Well, you should have thought of that before you threw away the only person who ever actually gave a damn about you." Then I shut the door in her face. And this time, I didn't wait to see if she knocked again because I didn't care. The next morning, I woke up to a strange feeling. Peace. For the first time in forever, there was no anger buzzing under my skin, no burning questions keeping me up at night. It was over. Emily had finally hit rock bottom. And I had done exactly what I should have from the start. Walked away. I got up, made my coffee, and sat on the back porch, watching the sun creep over the horizon. It was quiet, and for the first time in a long time, I liked the silence. Then my phone buzzed. I glanced at it, half expecting another desperate message from Emily. But it wasn't her. It was Olivia. "Olivia, it's done. Daniel signed the papers. He lost everything." I smirked, taking a slow sip of my coffee. "Me, that was fast." "Olivia, turns out when you threaten to drag a man's reputation through the mud, he folds pretty quick." I chuckled. "Me, remind me never to get on your bad side." She sent back a laughing emoji. Followed by another message. "Olivia, speaking of, what about Emily?" I exhaled, leaning back in my chair. "Me? She showed up on my door last night, wanted me to take her back." "Olivia, let me guess. You shut the door in her face." "Me? Damn right I did." I could almost hear her approving chuckle through the phone. "Olivia, good. She made her choice. Now she gets to live with it." And she was right. Emily had everything. A husband who loved her. A stable life. People who actually cared about her. And she threw it all away. For a man who never even wanted her. Now she had nothing. And me? I was free. For the first time in years, I wasn't someone's backup plan. I wasn't being lied to, manipulated, or made to feel like I wasn't enough. I had my house, my life, my self-respect, and I wasn't about to waste another second on a woman who had never deserved me in the first place. Emily Reynolds was gone.